Starting the video. Right. Today I'm going to talk about what the ego does after you find a degree of truth, after you've realized a certain openness. You find a door to another level. Go through it. The ego goes, what's next? We'll call this coming and going. So it's like you've spent decades traveling and you find a place where it seems to fall together. Everything seems to come together. A sort of emptiness. And the program that's decades, maybe even thousands of years or aeons long, pulls us to go further. So what next? Kicks in and off we go, trying. It's like having a dream where you reach this place where there's nowhere to go and you try to imagine or picture a place. A dream becomes a bit like that. So we try to, the mind creates a different scenario. Your life's a bit like that. You find a good place and everything gels and comes together and comes in. And you think, oh, I've made it. Finally, after such a long time, I've made it. Wow, I made it. Now what? Yeah. All the things you try seem to be empty or hopeless or pointless. You lose motivation. What if you stopped? Just stopped. You'd stop creating or projecting possible or scenarios where there might be some hope, or you might find yourself if you went that way. If you went that way. But until you absolutely stop, your mind will sort of spin a little bit and create like a circular, you'll see the pattern. It's like you've come back to where you were 30 years ago or 10 years ago. And you stop. Now if you stop looking forward or backward or outward at that point, if you stop that, what happens then is it feels a little bit like anxiety. And then if you try to stop that feeling, you project something. And because you've reached this place where hope seems to be a little hard to hold on to or have, that hope where there's nothing that's visible in front of you feels, well, the anxiety starts. And then if you try to stop that feeling by going into those things that take you to no hope, becomes depression. And then if you try to stop the anxiety, it becomes depression. So we're pretty much stuck in that vicious cycle of anxiety, depression. So Alan Watts said, you have to wait in the anxiety for a little while. Jesus said to his the apostles when they're waiting, he said, wait. And then he knew he was going to get put to death on the cross. And the Holy Spirit came to the apostles because they got nervous. They began to lose hope, faith. The Holy Spirit came and said, wait 3 days and a flame will reveal the truth to you, or something of that effect. That's my experience too. That in waiting, and not trying to create different scenarios or new paths away from this point where you've reached the emptiness. You wait there. Gradually, out of that waiting, the joy arises gradually because you're coming back in. You're not creating that. And when you create that gap, you only create the gap because you're looking outward. When you look outward, think of my hand as the self. It's not visible, it's just you. The minute you look outward, you're not looking at you. So the minute you move 1 millimeter, distance is irrelevant, I'm just using this to describe what I'm talking about. If you move 1 hair, Buddha said, if there's a hair missing, the tip of a hair, if you move 1 hair away from the self, the whole universe comes into being, coming and going, coming and going. So we come around the circle, we come back to that point where we're actually in the self. And we begin to move again. Because we think we decide. We think what we do, or whatever we can do, will bring about freedom or escape from the pain or suffering, or create a reality in which in the future we won't suffer, or we'll realise what we've always hoped for. But what we hope for is to get to a point where our life gives us the joy we are missing, or perceive or believe we are missing. So instead of that, if we stop, it becomes that the joy is already here. You slowly open like a flower, but you have to open to the emptiness. Open to it. And then the self that's perceiving the emptiness, you begin to realize that that's you, the perceiver of the emptiness. And then because you can't see yourself, you realize that this emptiness is conscious. It's awareness, they call it. But you have to stop coming and going. Yeah? If you move 1 speck away from you, of course you're going somewhere else. It's like refusing to acknowledge that you even exist the minute you try to move away. You're going over there into the projected universe that comes and goes, expands and contracts according to your attention, according to the attention you pay it. So if you think, oh, that thing over there might bring me the joy I've been looking for a while. So you go towards that. You've left yourself where the joy actually is. So we want the reflection of joy there. For example, if we take it now to a relationship level, to see how we try to get joy out of a relationship with each other. Right? So what we do is, I've said this before, we have a picture in our mind of each other and of ourselves. That's the projected eye. That's the eye that you imagine or visualize as going to the kitchen so that your body can move. We need this to connect the will. It's the physical matter of the body. So we visualize going to the kitchen and then the body goes. If you don't visualize, you're not going. So if we use that same idea or principle to understand how the mind works in the context of, I've got a picture of you, you've got a picture of you in your head. You've got a picture of me in your head, and I've got a picture of you in my head. So there's two in me and 2 in you. There's you, that you think you are or feel or perceive or believe yourself to be, and there's who you believe me to be in your head. So because we're used to projecting ourself into the visualized self, we think this is us, this visualized self, described in the last video. So we have a relationship with who we think the other person is in our mind. That's how a relationship works. So we can't relate to the other person because we're identified with the visualized self. Visualize him and you visualize yourself. We have these relationships in our minds with each other in the visualized level. Yeah? So, coming and going. So, we all want to visualize this visualized self in us, of the other person, giving us joy, giving our visualized self joy, bringing joy to our visualized self. For example, you have to act in a way that this guy here perceives to be respectful and loving toward him. We all do this. This is the ego. Right? So we want the other person's visualized self in us to validate and complete our own visualized self. There's nothing wrong with that picture, but that's what we do because we're identified with this ego. Right? So, coming and going. If you out there don't act in a way that is in accord with who I think you are, then I think I can't be happy with you. This I, the ego. See? So, we all do this. We balance or try to get joy from him. You. Visualize you in our head. That's how it works. Right? But it's not just you. We do the same thing with everything in the universe. Everything, including the entire universe and every speck or atomic particle of the universe. We want to get joy from it for this visualized ego. Right? So we want to extract the joy from the universe to validate this ego. There's nothing really wrong with that. Okay? Because it's the visualization. It's got nothing. It's imagination. This I that I think I am. I said I that I think I am. In the last video I said there's no thinker. I just clapped my hands. I said, look, you've got a thought in your head. I'll put it there. Thought happens because of perception. There's no thinker. So inside yourself, you're looking at you visualize you, and you're looking at the visualization of the other person in your head. So you're trying to make an imaginary relationship between these two non-existent people. It's insane. But that's what happens. That's how it's going on. So what's real? What is real? Okay. What to do? Coming and going. So when he's not when he's not validated, he has to go to try to get something. So he goes. And he comes back. Goes to you, goes to work, goes to the club, goes to the movies. Right? Goes over there to try and get the joy that's in him. It goes as him, because that's what he's been doing since he was a little baby. Yeah. Remember I said about rocking in the last video, the little baby's rocking, suddenly he's off, he realises how to move and go. Well, that's why. We think we have to keep going to get the joy. Go over there, go over there, go over there. We get to this point of stop. Here I am. Here I am. Hang on a minute, there's nothing here. So the mind automatically reacts to that nothing by creating nebulous and twisted ideas of reality. That becomes a dream that's pretty messed up when we're having a dream in bed. But our life is like that. It confuses us. It gets messed up. Or we mess it up. Just so we can start again. start the circle again. But we can stop at any point. We don't have to go back to the beginning every time like we do. The centre is here. Here, 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 here. The point of enlightenment is here. It's not over there. So if we just stop, how to stop? I said a minute ago, we don't go around the circle, stop back where we started from. Somebody said, if going forward looks like coming back, you've arrived. We don't want to go around that loop again. It might take 10 years. It's a waste of time, waste of life. So we've got to stop here. Right here where we are. Stop. How? Okay, you want positive experiences, you want joy, you don't want negative experiences, you don't want pain, you don't want suffering. Nobody does. But if you think you can go over there to get the positive to correct the negative, you're creating it. Believing in it. You're creating the opposite forces that you fight. That's what you're doing. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. I'm 62 years old. I've done every yoga there is. I was a Swami for 7 years. You know? I've been meditating since I was 15. I've seen everything that the books tell you. I've experienced every God, everything. Nothing helps. Nothing. It's just more experiences, more mind stuff. Trying to go, trying to get, trying to achieve. It's already here. Papaji was famous for saying, "You're already enlightened." Yeah? Really? Thought about that for a while. You, the minute you say that, you point at the ego. You're enlightened. The poor student, sadhu, whatever you want to call him, the person like you, is learning things like me. We're all students, we always will be. Tries to believe he's enlightened, but the you word refers to the ego, as does the I and the me. But it's me that's not enlightened. It's me that's separated. It's I that's separated. It's I that's not the self. So how can I be enlightened and no one else be enlightened? That's where Papaji got his idea from. How can I be enlightened if no one else is? So therefore everyone else must be. Okay. Others say, I'm God. And then the Guru says, don't forget the God over there in the elephant. He might trample you. Yeah, so multiplicit gods. We're around paranoid of all these gods treading on us, bowling us over. Alan Watts said the ego goes for a one-upmanship. It goes to here. And then somebody comes along and goes, oh! And he goes, yeah, but some teachers go, the student will come to the teacher and the student will go, oh, I saw this, I realised that. Teacher goes, when you realise X, you'll know where I am. She keeps moving the goalpost. Right? Until the student gets so frustrated he either leaves or he lets go of himself. The very thing that's limiting his consciousness is the idea that I am. So he comes and goes, coming and going. How to stop coming and going. Right. Positive, negative. You try to go, to get, to fill the empty void, to correct the negative. You create the force, you fight. If you push the pendulum up, then all the negative energies, or gravity, is pulling it, trying to pull it back. So if you want to be positive, you've got to hold that there forever. You let it go, you go, oh, I've dropped it. You don't wait long enough. right? For the two energies to stabilize in the absolute. That's why you miss it. That's why you miss the truth. Because you don't stop. You don't stop. When you stop, the ego disappears, and then you disappear. I wrote something the other day which says Nataraj, he's one of the Indian gods. It says that Nataraj rather is dancing, and his dancing is causing the universe. Right? When he stops dancing, the universe disappears. Right? Samsara disappears. Samsara, that pain, that suffering, disappears. You are Nataraj. You're doing the dance. You're coming and going. You're swinging to and fro, and if you stop, you're terrified that you won't exist. The thing is this: you never existed in the first place. The only thing that exists is yourself. It's a riddle, isn't it? The self you project, as we said, is imaginary. It's not the self. The self who projects it, the real self, the perceiver of perception, the one who's conscious of perception, that's you. He exists. The you word and the I word and the me word refer to the visualization. If I say I, and I'm thinking, rather I develop the habit of understanding that I actually means the self in the back of everything. I, that's the real I. But if I say I and let that word mean the projection, then I suffer. I suffer as that I, see? Coming and going. Coming and going. Stop. Don't go back to suffering. Suffering is the dance. See? Am I dancing right? How do I look? How's my clothing? I love my Ferrari. Yeah? So you put down the top of the Ferrari and you go screaming past the hotel. You don't know anyone in there. They don't know you, but you go, they'll see me. And then I'll exist. They don't give a rip. They don't give a stuff because they're trying to make themselves real. Oh, look at that guy in the Ferrari going past. Yeah? What a car. I'd love to have one of them. That's how they think. They don't think about you in the Ferrari. See the woman in the Prada dress with the, Gucci shoes or whatever. Well, I would love some of them. Where did she get them? Where did she get the money to get that? It's all about, think about me, you see. You don't see her. You don't even know her. You'll never talk to her. You don't know her. Coming and going. Reincarnation, coming and going. Hopefully this time we'll get it right. We'll find that special something, or that really good guru who'll give us the truth. And then we'll be happy. Who's this we? The we's are massive I's, a massive egos. Then I'll be happy. You see? No, you won't. Want to find enlightenment? You're not going to. You're not going to get enlightened. Doesn't matter where you go. You go to Mount Kailash, you can live in a cave for 15 years. You can go to the greatest guru in the universe. You can go to Rama himself. You are not going to get enlightened. You are not going to get self-realization until you stop trying to find it. You've already got it. Not I, the ego that comes and goes, the projection, the little baby that's zooming around still as a person, as a man, as a woman, 50, 60, 70 years old. The self is the light of the consciousness. It's the light of love. It's the light of the heart. It's the tiny little being in the heart, thumb size, you see. It's a reference to get you to look at him and go, gee, it's so small. In meditation, you realise the self in the heart. And the mind creates a visualization of it, or a representation. As I said, thought is created by perception. So So we're having this meditation, suddenly the self pops up as a thought, as a creation of the mind, a reaction to the emptiness. But he's in the heart. And the heart, forget about the walls, forget about the human heart. We're talking about the centre of being, the centre of reality, the centre of existence, the centre of life. Not your life, life, capital L. All life, all being, all planes, consciousness emanates from that. Love shines as existence from that. So we go out and we get these little bits of love as following the breadcrumbs back to the self, like that. That's how it works with breadcrumbs. Hansel and Gretel in the forest, dropping little breadcrumbs to get back. So, coming and going. You come to this point of stop, but you go off again. Come back again, go off again, coming and going. Pendulum swing. See, coming and going. So you have all these experiences in the swing toward the negative. It comes to the positive, then you have positive experiences. That's the negative gets corrected by, well, not corrected, but as the negative transposes into the positive, you begin to have positive experiences. It gets to the top where you can only accept so much love, and then it swings back the other way to give you juxtaposition for who you are as the ego. So it's like, here's where you deeply resent who you are. And you go for years of fixing that. And you come up here, you stop there. And I need more. I'm not happy at this point. I want more. That's when it starts to go back to the negative, because you start looking, you start judging. And then you reach that point there. Same thing, back. Coming and going, decades, wasting your life, looking for what's not there, looking for what doesn't exist. Doesn't exist at some future point, doesn't exist in the past. It's here, now. It can be quarter of the way up, 3/4 of the way up, all the way up, or it can be over there, but it's always here, here. You don't go anywhere, you stop. You drop the desire to fix. You drop the desire to become. You drop the desire to, you drop the attachment itself, because you're attached to getting enlightenment. You're attached to attachment. You don't have to let go of things. You let go of the attachment. Okay? You don't throw away your life. You don't give all your possessions away. You give yourself up, the one who has it. Because if you've got one speck, I'll put that another way, you can't exist unless you hold something. Rather, you can't exist as a haver unless you hold something. So in order to hold something, you have to exist. Okay? So when you're attached to yourself, that's the final thing you have to let go of. Forget about dropping and throwing away all your money and your possessions and giving it all to the guru, blah, blah, blah. No, you don't do that. Let go of yourself. Let go of everything. No, wrong word. If you let go of yourself, then you're not limited. Because in order to be you, you have to limit yourself. Then you'll suffer. Because you limited yourself. You did it to you by attachment to results. By desiring anything. But don't give up desire, because the desire is for the self that you think you're going to get out of what you're going to get, but you're not. You're only going to get a speck, a mean, miserly, shabby speck. That's all you're going to get. So how to get it all? Stop. Okay? Just stop. How do you stop? Who stops then, you ask? The who disappears into the infinite. There is no who. Ramana says, to whom does this arise? Think that. Meditate on that. Be conscious with that. And if you keep going with that, you'll say there's nobody there. So then you ask, does it arise? There's no one there to get it. How do we know it arose? And once you find out that there's no one there, everything is, they say self-arisen, but no, it's not quite like that. It's, then they say Maya. Let's try and put it a bit better than that, because we're in the modern world. Okay. The presence is the infinite self. The awareness is the infinite self. It's the omnipotent omnipresence of now, of here. And in that here, everything exists. The problem comes when we're attached to the names we give it, like cars, trees, people, ants, cats, dogs. All that naming means someone's naming. Language. Then they say mantra creates the universe. It does. It creates the defined universe. It creates the confusion. In the Bible it says in the beginning was a word, word was with God, and word was God, blah. Words, take the labels away that we've agreed that's yellow, red, green. We don't really know what that is. We don't know what anything is. We don't even know what we are, what the universe is. We don't know. Therefore we imagine it. What is it? It's possibly what we call it, or it's possibly anything else. It changes. Every nanosecond it's coming and going. Okay? Flashing in and out of being. Every time you refer to yourself, the whole entire universe that had to exist, so that the you think you are came into being through a historic hierarchy of being, hierarchy of consciousness, a hierarchy of endless becoming, coming and going. Thank you. Namaste.